Hey all, this is Jess Ferguson here. Wanted to run through and do a quick tutorial on Swift using Swift, which is a new VATSIM client for Xplane. This is you can actually find it here at swift-project.org. I'm not sure how if it's officially affiliated with VATSIM. But it is actually a really great client. I will say that the reason that I'm kind of doing this tutorial is that it is a bit confusing to get set up. They they have a great website. They actually have decent documentation. But the thing that I have found, just kind of detailing it, is there's a lot here, and probably UX, UI, user experience, user interface is probably not their strong suit. Their strong suit is building technology for VATSIM, but I'm hoping to kind of run through this because to be honest with you, I banged my head on trying to get Swift working, and I'll kind of show you where I went wrong. But it's a couple part installation, and for the folks who've used Squawkbox in the past or something like that, some of this will be familiar to you. But for those who haven't, this may all be kind of new. So if you're looking at setting up to use VATSIM using Swift. This is the way to do it. So we'll start here. This is their website, swift-project.org, like I mentioned before. Um, you will go and download the pilot client, and you're going to choose based off of your version. Nice thing now. So a couple different things that are different about Swift. Swift runs as a standalone application, so X Squawkbox in the past, and other uh, applications that did air traffic control were plugins. This is not. This is really kind of a thick application with a plugin that essentially acts as this bus. So that's what this X Swift bus is, and then this is the actual thick client. So what you'll want to do is start with downloading the latest version. Which for me, I downloaded this 63.892, the 64-bit version because I'm on Windows 64. You don't need to download the X-Swift bus. It will actually do that for you automatically. So you'll go ahead and download this, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that because I already have it. So in my downloads, and let's see here. Yeah, here we go. And you'll basically just run through the installer. It's just a click-through installer. So I already have it installed. I'm not going to deal with that. You guys can kind of run through that and then come back to this point. The other piece that you will need is CSL, which is I have no idea what it actually stands for, but it's actually the plane models that are used to render other planes in the ATC world. So there's really two for X-Plane. There is the Bluebell models, which have been around for quite some time. And then, let's see here. They are, no, not, yeah. They're up on the forum site. So these are the Bluebell CSL. You can download them off of the Swift website. And then there's another one actually called XCSL. XCSL was specific for iVow, for the XIVAP client. But the benefit of Swift is the XCSL packages work. And I'm lazy, and I like the fact that there's like a little updater thing that makes it super easy versus just kind of downloading these big packages with Bluebell. So I'm going to go this route, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to set a directory. Now, I actually just created a directory called Xplane 11 CSL and stuck it in XCSL, and just told it to index and update everything. And it basically it will just go through and you can select the ones that you want and install them. So in my case, I just installed everything. It was just kind of the easiest way to do it. And that pretty much sets up all the things that we need to do to start configuring Swift. So to start Swift, there is a thing called Swift Launcher that you can run. You're going to pretty much leave this in standalone, and this dbus P2P server to computers, I just leave this as default. There's this whole dbus way. I guess they have this way you could like split out your audio. I'm not sure why you would need to split things out and kind of have this virtual bus system for a VATSIM client. It seems a little overkill to me, but that's what it is. So for now, I'm just going to go into config, and this is the config walkthrough. I think this config pops up automatically after you run the installer. So if you run the installer and you kind of got to this point, here we go. So you're going to hit I agree. This data loading, it's going to download all the latest model data, and I'm not exactly sure kind of what that data is, but I'd click load from share, make sure everything kind of idles out and all these lights turn off. That means you're good to go. In this case, if you're installing this from new, you're going to hit select the models that you want to copy from. I'm not going to copy any models across. Actually, I don't want to do that. And I don't want to copy any configs across. If you were doing an upgrade or something like that, you could copy those across. So the next thing you're going to do is define your settings for your simulator. So in this case, we've checked Xplane. It's going to ask for your simulator directory. You set that. Basically, just click on the little buttons and set it. And then it's going to ask for your model directory. So if you'll remember before, I set my XCSL to download to Xplane 11 CSL XCSL, and I'm just basically going to go in here and select that, the top level directory. And when you're in this, you should see all these different plane types, and these are the different models that it will use. And then pretty much you don't need to do an exclude on anything. Hit next, and it's going to basically show all the models that you have. So I'm going to reload all the models. It's going to basically just search through everything in your directory and show all the models that it has a database entry for. And again, this gets a little bit confusing. There's a lot going on underneath. There's this database that matches the models. This is a little bit more complex than XQuackBox was. Like XQuackBox, you just installed the plugin, dumped your CSLs into a directory, and you were done. You didn't have to do all this model building. The cool thing about Swift is you actually have the ability to override models and customize models, and we can kind of show that later on. It's a little bit confusing. I haven't gotten super in depth into it, but you can do that. And basically what we're looking at here is the different plane types and different models types that it will use. So for example, for this A318 for Avianca, I think that's Avianca, AVI, or Air France, this is the XCSL object, yep, right there, that I will use to build this model, which probably means for this, since it's just kind of using this default one, it might not have one for that, or maybe it does. Yeah, so that's just basically how it's going to, this is the file that it's going to use to render that plane. And then we're going to hit create model set. It's going to say no distribution selected. Again, there's this distribution thing. Not sure what exactly it does, so I just hit yes. We're going to use all models, and it's going to override the existing set. And we should end up, in mine, with 4,381 models. And you'll see it's everything from Yaks to MD-11s, Embraers to Havillands, pretty much any kind of plane you would see in the VATSIM environment. So again, this is another thing that's not very clear. There's lots of different buttons here. All you have to do is hit Save Xplane. That's it. And close. And you're done. From there, you're going to go to Next. This will want you to install the XSwift bus plugin that I mentioned earlier. So like I said, it downloads it automatically, and so it's just going to download the latest one and install it. So here's my downloads directory, and it's basically just asking for the install directory. Install directory should be your plugins, your normal Xplane resources plugins directory. And next thing you're going to do is mapping hotkeys. So this is where you're going to set your push to talk buttons. So I have a couple set. One is set here for my keyboard, and this one is on my joystick. All you do is just hit add, and you're going to say press. I guess you could, I'm not sure how this works, but you could start the voice on the release. It seems kind of weird, but anyway. Activate push to talk, select your button that you want to map to that, and then you're done. It's pretty simple. And I'm just going to leave mine as is, and then you hit finish. Once you do that, it should take you right back to the launcher page, and then you're going to click GUI, and that's going to launch the GUI. By the way, going forward, I'll move this over, so there's the GUI, kill this. Going forward, you can actually just launch the Swift GUI. You don't need to launch the launcher and then click it. But I just kind of did that for the first go round. So, alright, so this is the new Swift client, kind of what it looks like. Definitely a lot more stuff going on here than with Xquackbox. And we're going to go ahead and connect so I can kind of walk you through some stuff. I think we're going to connect. We're in LAX, and when I looked earlier, oh, well, that sucks. There was an LAX controller and everybody online, but I still don't think there's a ton of planes in LAX. So let's just connect and kind of see what we see. Okay, so it's basically the other thing that's going to happen is it's going to validate all your models. So again, those are the mappings for the planes, and what you should come up with is there's no warnings or errors. Your set look good. This is where you're going to have problems. So when I first installed this, for some reason my models did not build right, and when I logged in, none of the planes rendered, and I was banging my head trying to figure out why my planes wouldn't render, and so it took me a little while to figure that out. In fact, I think what happened in my case is I was using maybe a Pilot Edge variant, something of Xplane or of the CSL, and it wasn't rendering, mapping properly. Anyway, I basically just went ahead and decided to install the XCSL, and everything worked at that point. So, like I said, XCSL, I know that works. You can try the Bluebell, but I had some issues with it. So, you're going to kind of come over here to flight plan. This is where you can set your flight plan. You can program everything in here. I use SimBrief or PFPX to do this, so I never actually fill any of this out, but you could fill out your flight plan here. And then you come over to connect. So I'm just going to connect with Alaska 99999 because we're not actually flying a flight. You will see it actually tries to look at the model. So this model information is coming from your aircraft file, and it will try to figure out the aircraft and the airline and all this stuff. You can actually override this, so I could actually say I'm a 320 and I am for Air France. You could do that. Some planes, I know the Zibo maps really well. The Flight Factor A320 does not. It has, you have to for some reason go in and set it every single time, and I'm not sure why, but anyway, there you go. So that's what we're going to connect as. So basically, you'll put in your VATSIM credentials, your name, your home airport, your call sign, aircraft, airline. This is going to kind of be your livery selection, and hit connect. Alright, so we are connected now, which is good. So let's take a look at aircraft. So, alright, here we go. So there's a ton. So this is good. This means it's connected and seeing all these aircraft here. So we can kind of see there's a couple. Looks like this guy might be on the ground. Alaska 80. Oh, in fact, he's right there. So good. So that means everything rendered properly, and this is actually a VATSIM plane. So, or yeah, VATSIM plane being displayed via Swift. Now, couple things. You should see the planes like this. This is what we would expect to see. If you're having issues, I do like to go over here to models, and this is a different way of looking at it. So this is the planes and essentially the model that it is using to render that plane. And if you don't have green check marks here, that means the plane is not being displayed in X-Plane. So what I was seeing before when I was having issues was it would say it was enabled, but nothing was being rendered because there was no valid model for it to render to. Sometimes I have seen situations like this one. I don't know why it's not rendering. It could be too far away. I'm not sure. It says it matches an object here, but it's not working for some reason. So this is kind of where you could actually go in, and there's a way in here where you could actually override the model. So basically what's happening is it's taking the flight information from VATSIM. This is United Airlines flight. It's a 737-800, and then it's searching through its database and basically matching it with an object that it has. So here's an Ethiopian 787-8, and it's mapping it to a model, which we should be able to probably see here somewhere. I'm guessing Ethiopian is he's got to be around here somewhere. Oh, there he is over there. So yeah, it matches the model perfectly. So again, really cool system. I've been really impressed with actually one of the things that I've been super impressed with in Swift is you don't get any of the floating. So for those who have seen it in the past, I've had a lot of issues, and I know a lot of other people do with Xquackbox, and I'm not sure what causes this, but you'll connect and your planes will be like floating up here. And the beautiful thing about Swift, I've not seen that problem. All the planes have been on the ground, and like the views when they take off and stuff like that are like perfect. You don't get any of that thing where they kind of like dive and go under the asphalt and then kind of pop back up, sort of thing. So that's really cool. Oh, there's our Korean Airlines one. Yeah, again, you can see. Oh, let me do this. You can see he's on the runway like perfectly. I don't know what Swift did that fixes that. The one thing I could think of is, yeah, like look how the plane. I know this is like super nerdy, but look how well the plane rolls. Like it's on the ground. Like it looks pretty damn real. It doesn't get much better than that. For a CSL rendered object coming from an online network, that's pretty badass. So I think that was kind of all the things I wanted to cover. I'm just going to look through the client here real quick, see if there's anything else I wanted to cover really fast. So yeah, let's talk about usage. So the cool thing is now you can actually set all your radios directly in Xquackbox. Or sorry, Freudian slip, in Swift. So this is just a text field, and I can do that, and then you'll actually see if I go into my radio, it changes it to 118.0. And then if I kind of quick over here and do 136.25, it should change it again, and it did. So you don't even have to use the standby. You can just edit directly. Also, you can edit the transponder and your mode. Maybe not the mode. I've had issues with the mode, but you will see it did edit the transponder. And then when I change it to mode C, it'll actually change it. And so that part works pretty well. Audio, this is where you kind of set up your audio drivers. What's your default input output? So that all works pretty well. let's see what else we got in here. Simulator, this is just the data that's coming from the simulator via that XSwift bus. Now, the cool thing is that the chat now has this really nice window. So it has all the old dot commands. In fact, if you hover over here, yeah, it shows you all of the commands, which is a super nice cheat sheet. Um, and you can basically just kind of leave this up instead of having to like do the tab thing to kind of pull up your history. It's really nice. The other thing is Unicom is now actually in its own tab. You don't actually have to tune to the Unicom frequency in your radios. It's just kind of always there, which is really cool. Also makes like direct messaging with other pilots a lot easier. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much that. The TCAS stuff works beautifully. There's my TCAS right there. I've actually been really impressed with that. I flew a flight today, and the TCAS was brilliant. Um, what else? Just kind of a few last things. Settings is kind of all your settings. So a lot of this stuff you can find. Again, this is the thing. The UI is really confusing. There's lots of buttons and lots of options and all these knobs, and there's like 5 different ways to get to everything. Like, here's all the exact same options here. Sort of kind of is down here, but you can also get to them through here, through here. So it's a little bit kludgy from a GUI perspective. The nice thing is the GUI resizes really nicely. So if you wanted to like make this like really small, just so it kind of sticks out of the way, it will actually resize pretty well. So when you're doing like your chat, it's super easy. One last thing I'll show is the radar. It's kind of cool. It shows like all your planes on sort of like this radar view. And then the weather. And this is one of the things that I think that allows Swift to set the weather properly is it actually sets everything relative to your aircraft position, and it actually has its own weather plugin. I'm not sure if that's what enables that, but it sure doesn't seem like it hurts. So, yeah, with that said, that's pretty much it, guys, for this video. I hope this helps. Like I said, it took me, like, I swear to God, 4 or 5 hours to figure out how to use Swift. So, if I was able to make it so, you know, one of you guys was able to do this a little bit faster, um, then that's a plus. So for me, other than that, I'm going to kind of like scroll out, and we will watch Alaska 804 push back here in the beautifully rendered Swift engine. And other than that, I hope you all are well, and we'll talk to you soon.